Oh,
All
God.
right. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the new episode of the podcast. This is the BBB podcast, Bustin Balls. And with me today, I am Bauer Tendo. We've got Celiac Matt here. And which kitty cat is this again?
That's Levy.
Levy. And everybody, you gave up. You peer pressured him into it.
You
You
busted his
got him
balls.
in. You busted his balls enough. Scott has a new setup and a new microphone. Scott, go ahead and talk for us.
Oh, no.
Hello.
Beautiful. He's never sounded so good in his entire life than that moment right there.
I really wanted his camera to cut out and then it start going with his voice. I really wanted that to happen, but it didn't. So I guess that's a good sign. So hey, we're back. We're back at it again. We're doing a makeup recording here to try to make up for just life, busting our balls. Today's topic, we're gonna be talking about video games, and we're gonna be talking about smaller games. We debated calling it indie, but I think we're gonna go with like smaller games or smaller teams games that we have played that we think you should play. And some of them maybe you're an indie connoisseur, small developer connoisseur, small game connoisseur. But these are games that we think are great, and we think you should play them. And I'm going to switch it up. Scott, I want you to go first today.
Wow, I get to go first. All right.
Rewarding you for your microphone.
Thank you. Behold my beautiful voice. Go to think. The only thing it took to happen is a $700 new laptop. So I'm going to put this all on you viewers. So subscribe, share it. I spent $700 fucking dollars for you. I need my return of investment.
That's
all
not
right?
including the microphone, which was like 150, right?
Yeah, that was 100. Man, the money I put in for you people, you have no idea. And you just ask for more and more and more. And okay, sorry. I'll move on. Anyhow, this isn't one of my official games, but I do want to give an honorable mention to a game that's a little bit trendy right now, and that is Dredge. I actually just platinumed that game about an hour ago. Great experience. It actually was a lot shorter than I was expecting it to be. It's one of those cases, though, and that's going to be, I'm sure, the same thing with a couple of the games these fine gentlemen mentioned, and some of mine as well, that length does not necessarily have to equal quality. And there was a time when younger Scott would be like, oh, this game isn't at least 100 hours long. Garbage, ripoff. I ain't going to spend my money on that. Now I'm the opposite. It's like, bro, I don't have enough hours in my life to spend 100 on just one video game. Give me the short, great game experiences. So if hearing Dredges in a short game doesn't turn you off, like, I do highly recommend it. Great Lovecraftian horror game right there. Yes, so very much recommend that. It perfectly goes and captures kind of the two different sides of the coin of the sea. One is like, the sea's really chill. You can go to the beach. You can go fishing on the boat. You can just kind of like chill out, enjoy the sea, hang out the vibes. And then there's kind of the other side of that coin is the sea's kind of mysterious. The sea is actually kind of freaky. It's, I think we know more about the moon at this point than we do about our own ocean. And, there's always freaky stuff people are discovering, lurking at the bottom there. You want nightmare fuel? If you've never seen an anglerfish before, look that up. And that's one of those things where you see it like Finding Dory and all these different video games of like, that thing looks freaky as fuck. They have to be exaggerating that. Not exaggeration at all. If anything, they're kind of underplaying how freaky that thing looks in real life. But anyhow, so Dredge really captures that feeling of like, fishing is chill. The sea is kind of cool. But as soon as the lights go down, it's like, all right, this is kind of freaky. I'm
fishing after dark.
Fishing after dark. Because everything after dark is more exciting. Wink. I had to say wink out loud in case you couldn't see it. But it's a very great game. It very quickly goes from chill to like, oh my God, and let me go get back to civilization as quick as I can before this horrible thing that I think is lurking right outside my view, destroys me. But anyway, that's enough about Dredge. Great game. First game I want to talk about, though, is a game that has a very, I'm not going to say bad reputation, but it has a reputation. And the funny thing is, it deserves that reputation, and it completely owns up to it. And that's Darkest Dungeon. The very first experience you'll have, I guess, a little bit of a background, Darkest Dungeon. I believe the game is like 7 years old at this point. It is from Red Hook Studios. Sorry, Red Hook, if I butchered your name. I'm pretty sure that's the name of you. It's actually pretty timely mentioning it right now because there's going to be a Darkest Dungeon 2 coming out, and I want to say a week or two. You know, hopefully it doesn't get too like forgotten about with Tears of the Kingdom about ready to come out. So I'm very much excited for it. And spoilers, yes, I do blame you all for me paying $700 for a new laptop to stream. But a small consolation price to me is I'm going to be downloading Darkest Dungeon 2 as well because it's going to be available on PC before consoles. So the thing to warn you about Darkest Dungeon is this game will punish you. That is what the game is about. And I know you guys probably have some rogue games that you play, roguelite. It's like, oh yeah, that's a pretty punishing game. Do those games have party wipes? Do those games have the ability where you can go and put 5-10 hours building up a character, getting them leveled up, teach them the perfect skills, getting them the best equipment, and then you just have one really bad run in a dungeon, they're dead, and it's all gone? If that doesn't sound fun at all, too bad. Still play the game. The game literally warns you in the load screen. It literally gives you a warning saying, hey guys, this game is hard. You're going to have, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to have party wipes and you're going to be super, super discouraged. And that is literally part of the game experience. It's about kind of like taking the defeat, learning from it, picking yourself back up and going for it again. And I have to say, if a game has to go and absolutely destroy me over and over again and crush my soul, I want it to do it the way Darkest Dungeon does. Because there's been times where literally party wipe in the dungeon, super brutal, literally had my best team go at it. And I had to go and just kind of put down the controller, take a walk, drink a beer, kind of, collect myself. But you know what? It never got to the point where it was such bullshit that I had to just say, enough of this game. I'm playing down my controller. This game is BS. I'm just going to move on and play something else. There has to be that one moment that you have to go and collect yourself, kind of cool off a bit, but then you always go back for more and want to try again. And I think that's an incredible balance that game does because I think the only game that probably came close to that, like feeling of like, wow, I'm like super frustrated right now, but I'm not going to put this down. I'm going to go back and try again, is Cuphead. But yes, Mike knows what's up.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of Darkest Dungeon, what it's all about. So basically you have a hub area. It's called, I think, the Estate. And it's basically this rundown, Lovecraftian, creepy, castle-y area. And so from there, you can go and recruit party members. You can go level them up. You can go and buy equipment. And then you go on raids. Well, not really raids. You go out and select various dungeons you can go. There's like 5 different regions in the game, I want to say. A 6th one gets added for DLC. And another DLC adds like a horde mode. But basically the idea, each section is very, very freaky and very different from the others. You go through, you can go select like short quest, medium quest, long quest. And like basically the longer the quest, the more likely it is you're going to die a horrible death. But also the better loot you can get. One very cool mechanic of this game is, aside from health, which obviously you don't want your health going to 0 and you dying, is your sanity meter. I don't remember officially what the meter is called, but basically it represents like your sanity, and things that happen to you that stress you out actually impact this meter.
Are we talking about something similar to Eternal Darkness? Like, did you ever play Eternal Darkness?
I did not play Eternal Darkness, which that's another mechanic I described Dredge to a couple people because that game does have a sanity meter. And as it goes up, you start freaking out and seeing crazy ass things. And they basically said that sounds just like Eternal Darkness.
That's Eternal Darkness, yes.
As far as Darkest Dungeon goes, it's a little bit similar, but think of it more as additional health bar. Like, think of it, you have mental health and physical health. So obviously getting stabbed, getting vomited on by creatures, all this horrible stuff, that affects your physical health. But seeing, your party members getting murdered by monsters, seeing horrible sights, falling for traps, that affects your mental health. And it gets to a point where if your mental health gets too poor in a dungeon, you actually start developing psychological problems that do stick with your character. So you may go and get fear of the dark. You go and may become kleptomaniac. Just you really don't know if you
So
get
from
pushed too
a
far.
game standpoint, getting like if that triggers, what does that mean? Like, oh, my attack is less, or my defense is less, or I'm slower. Like, what does that mean in turn?
And
Like,
is this
Yeah.
a turn-based? Like a
yeah,
Yes.
turn-based?
like what
Okay.
type of gameplay is this?
So yeah, so this is a turn-based game, and every single different like mental illness you develop because of the stress meter, it does affect like different parts of gameplay. So like Mike said, are there some that affect your attack power, your defense? And there are some that affect that. Like one, the kleptomaniac. Sometimes when you raid a chest and the whole party's supposed to, share the loot, randomly your character of a kleptomaniac trait may be like, just kidding, guys. I'm just going to take all his treasure for myself, and that character just takes it all. There are some that develop that make it so like you get very paranoid and you start attacking your own allies, thinking like, "Oh, this guy can't be trusted. Oh, he's going to abandon me when we're in this really hard fight. I'm going to attack him before he turns his back on me." And you can actually have characters that start attacking each other. You can go and get rid of these like mental illnesses, and you have to go and commit your character to a sanatorium, and that basically yeah, I know, pretty hardcore, right?
What? You're actually what is going on with this game? I mean, I had heard
This
of
game
this
is
before.
dark.
I'd heard
This
of this
game is
game before,
dark.
but not like this, man. This is something else.
Yeah, and so one of the big things too is like, and this does kind of tie into the story of the game and the big plot twist at the end, but it gets to the point where you get attached to these characters and you're like, oh, I love this character, I want to protect them. The quicker you can go and treat your characters as meat and not as people to get attached to, the easier the game will become. As sad as it sounds, that you need to get to the point where you just like think of people as resources. Like, oh, this guy's crazy, I'm going to put him in a sanatorium for 5 weeks. Like a week is considered a run in the game. So every time you go out and raid a dungeon, 1 week goes by. So if your character is really, really mentally screwed up, you may have to go and commit them to a sanatorium for like 5 weeks. So basically, you're not able to use this character for the next 5 dungeon runs you do. So you do have to go and manage a bit. Sometimes you literally have to just recruit a team of complete newbies on your team and put your actual experienced heavy hitter team to the sides. Like, all right, next dungeon I'm going for, I'm just going to send a bunch of newbies into there. And most of them are probably going to die.
Your characters are always like they're unending, but it's like you're
Yes.
putting in like the bench warmers, right?
Yes.
Like you put in the bench warmers while your starters go get better, get right. That's very interesting. I didn't know any of this about this game.
Yes, it's a very, very cool game. And I'm honestly just scratching the surface of the very interesting, unique mechanics that game brings to the table. Like literally there is a class, because the way each character, it goes by classes. So, there is, I'm trying to remember, there's basically the barbarian, there's the plague doctor, and you may have a plague doctor whose name is Tim, and then he gets completely wiped out. And then you can go and spawn a new plague doctor to recruit on your team, and his name is, Philip or something like that. And you can go and have multiple of the same class on your team. You do have a roster limit where you can only have, that can get upgraded over time, where you have 10 different characters you can choose from, and then you can make that go up to 12 and 16 and so on and so forth. But yeah, there's actually a class where I forget his name is, but he's basically a masochist. He goes and just tortures himself the entire time. He literally taunts the enemy to kill him. And like his whole gimmick is he's like, kill me, I deserve to be punished, I want to suffer.
Shoot
and
me in the face.
He just has like his unique equipment you get for him is shards of glass, because everybody wears like, hey, I'm gonna wear like a new awesome piece of armor. Now his thing's like, cool, sweet glass, shove it into me, let's go for this. And with that said, he's actually one of the most OP classes in that game. But this game is dark.
Would go after that class.
He's very OP, but this game is dark. It lives up to the darkest part of its name. This game has dungeons. It lives up to the dungeons part of the name. But it is a great gaming experience. So that's me with my pitch. Hopefully I didn't scare you guys off from it. It's one of those games where definitely it sounds intimidating, and it's going to kick your ass. But it is such a great, unique, amazing experience. And I haven't even started talking about the story, which is also pretty incredible. But there you go. That's my pitch for you for Darkest Dungeon.
Are the characters also randomly generated? like that join your party or that you enlist or however it works? Like, are they like, hey, this one has a red hat. Now this one has like a blue scarf. Like, is it like
No,
random character design?
no, every single class has the same character model. So yeah, I don't even. There may be color different. I think there actually is like color differences between them, but every single character,
But can you choose,
like
like when you're going to recruit? So, like, say I got to put my big team away because they're all crazy right now, right? Got to put them away, and I'm going to choose some newbies. Like, do you have like, oh, I have this in-game currency to spend, and I can choose,
yeah.
or is it like I don't have anything, so I'm just getting randomized, or is it just always randomized? Like the classes themselves, like you said, you can swap between like their different characteristics, right? So like, is that randomized?
So the characteristics are randomized. So I guess let me start from the beginning of that. So you don't have to spend currency to recruit new characters. In the hub world, there's different areas. Like there's the sanatorium, there's the inn, which if your characters get are stressed out. Oh, by the way, unlike health, when you do clear a dungeon, your stress meter, sanity meter doesn't reset to 0. That still stays exactly the same level. And the only way to get that down is to take them to an inn for them to drink or, have a with a lady of the night and to get down the stress meter.
Scott, a very important question. Is that the noise you think that is made during intercourse?
Perhaps.
Okay, just that's all. I have no follow-up to that.
We can make this an R-rated episode, but I'm going to keep it to PG-13. Anyhow, but back to what you say, to your original question. One of the things you go to is, I think it's called like the recruitment wagon, and basically it's just a group of explorers who that particular week happened to go and be visiting that village. And so within that, there's also, you can upgrade it to make your pool bigger that you can select. But hypothetically, let's say you need to recruit some new team members. You go to that recruitment pool and there may be 4 available. And it's random what 4 classes are available amongst them. So you may have 2 witch doctors and 1 crusader and 1 highwayman. And each one of them may have, their own individual strengths and weaknesses. So you can go scroll through them like, oh, hey, these 2 witch doctors, this one has a skill that makes this a little bit better. I'm going to go and recruit that witch doctor. Then once you do your next dungeon run and you come back the next week, all of them are going to be gone. It's just going to be a new pool of characters you can recruit from there. And if you don't like any of them, you have a baller team or your roster is full, you don't have to recruit any of them.
So is it literally called the recruitment wagon?
I don't remember the name. It could just literally be called the recruitment wagon.
I'm just picturing like a job fair or like a sales pitch, like, hello, sir, we need to raid some dungeons. And I'm just thinking about your sales pitch of the game, like, hi, you should come join our party. You're gonna die. I'm just picturing like this
all
guy
the recruitment wagons around, and this one, the one for Darkest Dungeon, like nobody ever goes to because there's always that one.
So the boss of whatever your Darkest Dungeon is like, what's your survivability rate? We got a 22% survivability rate. That guy's only got 20, so you might as well come join my party here.
Hey, guess what, buddy?
Higher chance of not dying.
Hey, come work for me. You're literally meat. You're expendable. I'll get rid of you when I don't need you anymore. Spoilers. That's basically every job in America. At least they're being upfront to you.
I was debating making a joke about that. Is like, man, it sounds like Scott just described all of corporate America. Yeah. And you know what? I like that how after a big project is done, that your team gets to, have some recovery time in an insane asylum. I think that's might be the next step in the American healthcare system. Like, you know what, Matt? You survived the quarter. You only cried 5 times. Go have a week on us at this insane asylum. You're great. You come back. We'll do some spreadsheet stuff later on.
Straight Jacket's going to do you wonders.
Listen, eliminate wellness time, eliminate time off, and just work your employees till they go crazy, and then invest more into, sanatoriums.
Yeah, I think we're onto something here. We're definitely onto something here. Man, so I've never played this game. I know literally nothing about this game. I Googled it as you started talking about it and heard your description of it. And it sounds pretty cool. Not a game for me. I will say that.
I was about ready to say, I am going to be 100% honest. Some of these games I'm going to talk about, I personally love, and I do feel like most people should give a chance. But with that said, there's very specific people out there, very specific types of gamers that I can tell you right now, this is not the game for you. And I love you, Matt, but I think you definitely called it. This is not a Matt game. Mike, and I feel really bad because one of my friends I used to work with, I pimped out this game all the time to him. It's like, dude, get Darkest Dungeon. And then he'd always make excuses saying like, oh, well, it's not on Switch. Yes, it is. It's literally on everything. Oh, well, my friend's borrowing my Switch. Well, it's also on PlayStation. And then finally I kind of pressured him into buying Darkest Dungeon. He played it for an hour and he's like, Scott, I hate this. I just keep dying all the time and party wipe. And it's like, that's the point. It's like, it's not for me. And I can respect that. And so with, again, Matt, not a Matt game. Mike, I think it's potentially a Mike game if you ever give it a chance.
I did like, all I knew about it was the art style, like what it looked like, that it was very difficult and it was turn-based. That's all I knew about it. I didn't know any of this other stuff. That sounds really cool. I mean, it also sounds, I have this love-hate relationship with extremely difficult games. I love them until I don't. And then I get very cranky and I like put them away for a while. And then I get the itch again and I go, oh yeah, I need that difficulty. And then I get back into it. So I'm pretty certain I almost always finish those games. Even if I'm like, by the end of it, I'm like, nah. But I always end up finishing them. So like, I'm interested. I might look into this thing.
Yeah. And I will warn you right now, there is some games where it's very hard, but you die and you just tell yourself like, all right, it wasn't the game being unfair. It was me. I screwed up there. I'll do better next time. That game has a very, very unforgiving random number generator. There could be got your best team. You're fully prepared, equipped. You're ready to go in the clean house and you get party wiped just because of a series of bullshit random things that pop up.
I don't like that. That's like random encounters. I don't like random encounters in RPGs. I don't at all. Like, it's like I have no tolerance for that anymore as I've gotten older.
Yeah. And that's basically the game's like, it never wants you to feel comfortable. It always, the way your characters are feeling, it wants you to go mimic you. Like no character is ever safe. And they want you to know, like, doesn't matter how good I get. Obviously, if I have an over-level team and I'm just going for low-level dungeons, fairly low risk, but you could have everything on your side, be fully prepared, and you could still potentially fail. And hey, kids, that's a good lesson for life.
You had me until that. That killed it. Like,
never mind.
That killed it for me because, like,
edit that out of the podcast.
Games like Shin Megami Tensei 5 or any of those where they will kick your ass. They want to kick your ass. Like, you will die, but it's because the AI uses the same system that you use, and it doesn't it doesn't act stupid. And so it forces you to get better. But when it's randomized, like, you go in, you're like, I've prepared, I've done what I need to do to do this, and the game says, doesn't matter, you're boned. I don't like that. Like, that, it's like takes the fun out of it, right? Like, well then I guess I should point, right? Like,
I should clarify. There is no situation. It won't just go and make you like, all right, no matter what you do, you're going to die from this. It's more of you're going to have setbacks and you could be as well prepared as you can, and you're just going to have a rough go. But I would say there's never a situation where, what's that Star Trek exercise? The one where it's not about successfully saving the Rubushi. Please, guys.
I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember the exact phrase.
Yeah, and I think the best way to describe it is that, where you have dungeon runs where it's like, all right, I'm not going to complete the mission. So one or two of my characters are going to perma-die from this run, but how can I get the most out of this? How can I make the best of it? Because there is resources you collect in dungeons, and you can bring those resources back to the main hub, and you can go and upgrade, the various sanatorium, make it so more people can get committed, or people go and get out of there quicker. You can go and buy better equipment. So even a run, like I said, you need, the quicker you think of your party as expendable resources, opposed to like, oh yeah, I want to have the same party members from beginning to end. I'll tell you right now, there is not a single party member I started with that lived to the very end of the campaign. And when you more think of them as something to kind of help you get further into the dungeon, collect a little bit more resources, it's like, oh, the entire team died. Oh, well, at least I found a bunch of gold and I can use that to buy a new, the shiny new piece of equipment.
A new laptop with a microphone.
And a new laptop. How do you think I got this one? Sorry, employees that are no longer working for me. But yeah, the quicker you think
them, for the dungeon, and they died. Got it.
But yeah, the game really forces you to get away from the mentality of like, oh, get attached to your team, and more of like, they are expendable. They are a means to an ends. Your character you're playing on, you're called the Heir. So basically, the Darkest Dungeon hub world, it used to be owned by your he's called the ancestor. It's not clear if he's your father or grandfather or whatnot, but you're basically taking on his completely in ruin estate, and you're trying to build it back up and restore it to its former glory. So you yourself, you're never dying. You're recruiting these people, you're equipping them, and yeah, maybe 3/4 of the team died, but hey, you got me some more money. Awesome. Oh, hey, yeah, you're all completely mentally broken from the horrible things you encountered. Cool. Did you go and take out the boss there? You did? Awesome. Well, that's all I need. So, and that, again, it does kind of tie into the story and the message of it at the end. There's a point to the heartlessness.
All right. So the first game, you're starting off strong, man. It's Capitalism the game, right?
It kind of really is if you look at it.
Joke.
Capitalism the game. All right.
Spoilers. At the end, the greatest monster isn't the ones you fight, it's you.
Capitalism the game. This is you. I didn't realize that this was a real thing. Like Capitalism the game was a real thing. All right. That's starting off strong with that one. Matt, what do you got for your first pick?
So I was narrowing it down to 2 because I like to keep with 2. So I'm going to do a quick honorable mention for myself because I was debating if it even applies to this subject that we're talking about. But the game I was considering putting on here was Marvel Snap. It's a free-to-play mobile game on your cell phone, iPad. You can even play it on Steam if you'd like. It is a blast. I love it. And I'm going to die in the hill that I know as a fact both Mike and Scott would absolutely love this game. As a fact, they would love this game. But we'll move on because I know the reason why they're not playing it right now. The first game I want to talk about, and this is probably recency bias, but it's a game I beat literally last night fully. And as of today, and probably not as of tomorrow, it was a free game on PS Plus for April. It's a game called Tales of Iron. The premise of the game is you essentially play a rat prince. Think kind of like those old Robert. I think it's Robert Jordan, but it's like a mouse in like medieval times. Swords and bows and arrows and things like that. And you have to essentially rebuild your kingdom. What this game is, it's about 20 hours of hand-drawn, well-crafted storytelling where it is a side-scrolling game with very, very challenging and brutal combat where you can change your equipment based on the situation that you're in. It has map systems similar to like kind of games like Hollow Knight or like old school Metroidvania type games where like you kind of see the maps and things. It's very easy to see where you need to go. It easily marks where it is you need to go. But essentially, it has the story. There's only one voice artist. The rest of it is the sound effects and things like this. There's one guy doing voice work as like the narrator. It's the guy that does Geralt from the Witcher game. So it's that guy's voice announcing this game. And I was expecting it to be a quick little 5, maybe 10-hour game that became, I think, about 20 hours with this really fun, satisfying, like world building, storytelling. It just made a lot of sense. And it was just so beautiful. The music was really, really fun, but the combat is what really stuck with me is that they give you a lot of variety of like weapons and things to use, but it is a 2D fighting game where you do need to shield and dodge and kind of roll around, and you can kind of see what types of attacks your enemies are doing. So you need to respond accordingly. Like, do I need to run backwards? Do I need to run through them? Do I need to shield to counter? Do I just need to get hit in the face so I can then hit you right after? There's a lot of variety in the combat that you can build towards. It was just a fun, great story. It was also had some really dark elements. Like you think, oh, you play Little Rat Prince. There's some moments where you're like, oh, crap. That was brutal what just happened there. But it was just a really, really fun game that I played for absolutely free. And I recommend it to everyone. And the biggest takeaways for me is the art design was great. The story was just wonderful. I think both of you guys would enjoy it quite a bit for a short storytelling game because we all said this, the older we get, the less open world, long games we want to play.
Short games are great. They're wonderful.
Short games are great, which is why we should play Marvel Snap. Short games are great. And this is a very, very well done short game. It came out originally in 2021. Again, it's as of this recording, it is free. It's likely not going to be free by the time you guys, this podcast airs for everybody else. But I highly recommend this game. I had a blast with it. Again, the music, the art, the combat, the story, just how easy it was to like traverse. There is a little bit of backtracking, which usually isn't my thing in games, but the way they do it, like I'm pretty happy with it. And there's just this wide variety of combat that you have in any given situation. And here's the seller for you guys. There's a small bit in the game where you need to win a tournament to get a certain item to move on. The tournament is like kind of like a gladiator inspired tournament where you have to fight a bunch of moles. So you're a rat, ready to fight a bunch of moles. And the moles that you fight are all named after professional wrestlers.
Yes, I'm sold.
No.
Yep.
I'm sold.
There is Mole Mysterio. It's a mole with like a luchador mask on it.
You are bullshitting us right now. You're just trying to get us to play this game.
No, it is true.
I already added it to my library, Matt. It's
it is
there,
not
ready to download.
A long portion of the game. In total, maybe 30 minutes, an hour. It depends how much butt kicking you have received. But there's Mole Mysterio, Mole Kind, so a mankind with the face. There's Mole Berg. There's the Macho Mole.
All right. Sorry the sidetrack from Matt's thing, but are you guys aware that there is an anime based on professional wrestling?
There's several, aren't there?
Well, is there? I'm particularly talking about Ultimate Muscle, and I'm not sure if either of you guys heard about that. And you naming all those mole puns reminded me of that anime. Like, I think the main owner of the league, his name is Guy McDude or something like that.
Love it.
Vance McGuy, something like along that. And you just have so many wrestling parody names in that anime. And it looked terrible, to be honest. It was just like 50% fart jokes, which maybe that would be up Matt's alley.
Probably. That sounds wonderful to me.
It sounds great to me. Fun fact, the main character's finishing move in that cartoon show was the Muscle Buster.
Matt knows about it.
Right, which is where Samoa Joe got the finishing maneuver from, was actually Ultimate Muscle, whatever that thing was called. But yes, I'm aware of it. Here's the best name. Hulk, I think it's like Hulk Mogan or something like that.
Hulk Mogan.
Something like that. So just that bit was just delightful. I was playing this last night and having a great time. But yeah, the game, again, just to recap, beautiful art design, great music. The sound design is great. The one narrator tells such a great story. The combat is so varied and fun and challenging, legit challenging. Like, it's not like Darkest Dungeon where it's like, hey man, you're going to want to cry by the time this is over. It's like, you're going to die. It's just going to happen. You got to kind of learn to read the opponents and things like that. It was just a beautiful, fun, smaller game that I was just going to play I'm just going to play this. And like, holy crap, I love it. So a blast of a game. I recommend it to both of you and anyone that listens to it. Tales of Iron was a delight.
Hey, employee that we get along very well. I have a gaming podcast I'm part of. You should go listen to it. And like, I always was nagging her, like, hey, have you listened to it yet? Have you listened to it yet? And so finally she just like flat out admitted to me, saying like, yeah, I listened to it for like a minute and a half, and your audio was so crap that I just turned it off. And I was like, ow. I mean, honest and very rightfully so, but still, ow.
Now tell her like in a couple weeks, like, hey, try again, start here, and then listen to it.
Well, the funny thing is, she was helping me like troubleshoot this mic because I was having a lot of issues. I'm not sure if we're recording right now, but if we are recording, which it sounds like we are, this mic wasn't used for the last podcast because it wasn't working correctly on my old laptop. So she was helping me troubleshoot it, and I even made the comment to her saying like, hey, now that if we get this working and I actually have a good mic, will you watch me now? No, you don't look towards your camera. It's like, God dang it. And I just can't win with this person. So,
no,
anyway.
You can't. Yeah. So if you are watching this, I mean, I'm glad you're here, but come on, man. There's different preferences for everybody. Some people actually like the off kilter. Like, I'm looking at you guys here, but I make sure to look over at my camera every now and then.
I am not looking at my camera. That just makes me uncomfortable. Is this what you really want?
I mean, yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
You
don't have to do this the whole time.
But... No.
Yes. This is what I want.
Yes. In that aspect, I do agree in partial sense, but I don't think you have to do. Well, if you're making faces, that's something different.
Okay, well, fine. Is this any better?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you notice this, but I constantly I go between like looking over here and going back. You know, it kind of gives like a feeling of like you're in the room with us. Yeah. When you're watching, I mean, when you're listening, it doesn't really matter at all.
One thing I've learned with Twitch is different people like so many different things and what they're looking for. Some people want just a game, like shut up, just a game, and some people
don't even want to see your face. Like, just don't even put your camera on.
Just want to like chat. They don't even give a crap about the game, and like it all varies. For me, I kind of treat it the way that I would if I did when I was doing like, public speaking, or when I was, a youth pastor for a while. You do kind of want to move around, move your body, look at the camera, maybe look away, just to kind of have this conversation. It feels more like a real conversation, less just monotone. But again, everyone has different preferences, and it sounds like your friend knows exactly what she likes.
So hey, so give a
fine.
shout out.
Ironic
Tell her to watch this and give a shout. Like, we gave her a shout out. Like, good job. Keep riding Scott's ass about this stuff.
Please.
The ironic thing is, she'll probably watch this and give it a chance, but then hear this whole segment of me shit talking her, and she's like, "Nope, not." There
But
you go.
you're not though.
Talking.
You
I am
literally
talking shit. How dare you want me to look at the camera? Looking at camera.
Okay, well, now you are
dumb. You're dumb, and I don't even want you watching this right now. Unsubscribe. I don't care. This is Mike's channel. Doesn't affect me.
But also, if you are watching, know that if we get a certain amount of subscribers, if we get a certain amount of views, Scott will get a Fortnite tattoo on his ass. So
yeah,
tell all
maybe
your
see how
friends.
many viewers that is. How many subscribers is that, Mike?
You gotta go watch the past episode.
Love it.
I'm gonna taunt you.
Anyway.
I'm just gonna say right now, you can't get it to happen. There's no way, no how.
I'm excited for
Never.
Scott eventually playing Fortnite and then getting it tattooed on his butt.
Even if it's just like, if we get to 100 subscribers and he plays Fortnite, like, I'll consider that a win, in all honesty.
I'm just gonna taunt you the entire time. I don't think you have what it takes.
Love it.
Oh,
Ain't gonna happen.
And
Anywho,
before we get to my game, I actually had one question about Tales of Iron. Like, what? So you said a side scroller. Like, is it like an action, not platformer necessarily, but like an action game? Like,
it's an action. It's not even a platform. There are some platforming elements.
So cool platforming elephants.
Honestly, I would love. I want to see a game with some elephants just hopping around. That sounds wonderful, actually. There are some platforming elements, like you climb the ladder, you kind of hop off a wall to go somewhere, but it's very obvious like where stuff is. It is a story-driven action game. So it is predominantly an action game. There is some exploration, like, oh, there might be something here. But admittedly, in this game, I've collected almost literally everything. I think I'm 3 trophies away from like a platinum. And I don't care about platining up, but it's a relatively easy game to get a plat, I'm sure.
Just do it. You got 3 more.
Do it. Come on, man. You're so close.
No,
it's so close.
It's already uninstalled. Hey, I don't give a crap.
Do it. Do it.
No. Hey, tell you what, Scott, get that tattoo on your butt, and then I'll 100% Tales of Iron. That'll be our agreement. Let's go.
Do it.
Do it. Thank you. Thank you. But no, it is predominantly a story-driven action game. So it's a more methodical sort of hack and slash, but it is a side-scrolling game. It's a blast, and eventually when you do play it, because I assume you will at some point, Mike, I think you're gonna be like, Matt, yep, you're right. This is delightful.
Yeah, like I said, it's in my library.
This is less a question, more a statement. Originally, because Matt already made the pitch to us a couple weeks ago to play this game, and when he did that, I looked it up on Google and was just looking at the pictures. And ironically enough, it's like, this looks just like Darkest Dungeon, like art direction wise. And then he started describing the gameplay. I'm like, that sounds nothing like Darkest Dungeon now. But at least if you like the way this game looks, then you might like Darkest Dungeon because of the way it looks, or vice versa. Very similar art directions. But it does definitely sound like something I would enjoy, and maybe I'll be able to play it. I'm going to be 100% transparent. There's a certain game coming out 2 weeks from now from the time we're recording this podcast, that once it's out, I am probably not going to play anything but it for the next 3 months. So my time is very limited in the foreseeable future, but maybe down the road, I'll give this game a shot.
Same. I know exactly what you're talking about. So
Mike is pointing
was at that
Zelda OLED.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. I was just,
no,
anybody just listening?
He was hitchhiking. Yeah.
I'm hitchhiking.
I was just really,
office.
Okay, I was very confused about that, Mike. And I'm sure everybody who's just listening to the audio of this is even more confused.
I pointed to my Zelda OLED back there because I'm such a pud.
There you go.
All right, well, cool. Tales of Iron. I like I said, I have it in my library, so it's just a matter of just, like, you wrapping up, like, it's on my queue. So,
yeah.
My giant queue, because I play every freaking game under the sun because I have a problem. All right, so I have a couple on honorable mentions. So one of them is a game called Ape Out, and I actually discussed this briefly before. It's a game by Devolver Digital. Like, basically any Devolver Digital game is great. And actually, so I might be changing this up a little bit just because I want a little bit more. Like I know your guys' games, and we discussed that before, and I want a little bit more variety. And this game is very, very unique. So honorable mention to Ape Out, which is a top-down. Think of like the old school Grand Theft Autos, but you play as an ape, and you're getting out of containment. And there is like a little bit of a story there, but it's very violent. And the coolest thing about it is the music is like freeform jazz, but it plays to how you play the game. Like not like, oh, in this part it goes, no, like literally, like if you slap a guy up against a wall, the music, like the drums, like play with that, like cymbals and toms and kick and like the bass and everything going with it. It's super unique, super cool.
Well, so far it sounds like Bill Cosby would be on board with this game. You like the jazz music, don't you, little fella?
Yeah.
That was a reference I totally forgot. As soon as you mentioned Bill Cosby, I was like, "Oh no!"
My first thing was like,
No.
"Oh," because of all the new
What terrible
stuff.
joke
What?
are you
You're
about
like, I
to
like the
make?
jazz
What?
music.
What are you
I was
talking
like,
about?
okay.
Nothing.
There's nothing Bill Cosby has done questionable in the last 10 years, right? He's still like, it's still
No,
cool
it
to
was like
reference Bill Cosby, right?
It was like 15 years ago. Yeah, we're good.
Bill Cosby's still okay to talk about, huh?
Anyway,
Right?
honorable mention, Ape Out. Ape Out, good stuff. And I was going to do this one first, and I had told you guys this, but it's called Child of Light. It's a very unique game, but like thinking about especially the art style between Darkest Dungeon and Tales of Iron, this is this was an Ubisoft game that like published by Ubisoft, and it's by a smaller team, by their engine called Ubi Art. It very hand drawn, very charming. It's turn based, and it's kind of like you explore, and you're like this young girl, the Child of Light, haha. And it's 2D, and I wouldn't call it a Metroidvania. It's like exploration. You don't have to go back to other areas. But like when you see enemies, like it goes into a turn based. It's just very unique. The music is beautiful. The way they present everything, it's just very. It's nothing like groundbreaking. It's just very nice. It's just a very nice game.
So I've actually played that game, and that was one of the very first Xbox One games I played. And it was so long ago, I don't really remember much about it other than, yes, it was pretty, it was turn-based, and I enjoyed it. But the very specific gameplay moment that I always have stuck in my mind, and Mike will probably know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm going to try to keep it vague. There is a character that backstabs you and becomes a bad guy. And I was so shocked at the time. It's like, how could this character betray me? She only treated me like garbage and berated me the entire game. And it turns out she's evil and wants to go and it's always been against me. How's that work? And it's just like, wait, Scott, that was pretty damn obvious. But anyway, yes, it has the most obvious, not obvious hill turn ever in a game.
But they have it set up to be like, oh, the bad guy's going to become a friend, right? Like it kind of has that feel to it. But then, like, it happens exactly how logically you think. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So it's really good game. Really good game. Highly recommend it. I played it back on the Wii U, so that tells you how long. It released in 2014. So, and then it re-released in, like, 2017 or 2018 for all the Xbox One, PS4, Switch, all that stuff. So, I do recommend it. The game that I swapped out that like last minute just because it is so unique and the storytelling is very good and it's really good. It's another Devolver Digital game and it's called Katana Zero. Katana Zero is a side-scrolling. It's got the pixel art, which you're thinking, okay, what's new here? What makes this game so unique is that one hit. You get one hit and you're dead. And
I'm out.
But no. But you have a rewind feature. So the goal of the game is to get through a section without using the rewind feature and not dying at all. But there is the option of you have a rewind and it plays against it, right? Like or you like when you die, it's not till the very, very later levels, we'll call them areas. I'm trying to be vague here until it starts to get very difficult but by then you've grasped the situation and you have a plethora of skills that will help you to not die. And you are essentially like you have a sword, hence the katana, and you are OP against everybody else. But you go against like people with mobsters, like organized crime, things like that. And there is a story that's being played out that is, I think it surprised me. Like I went into this game just thinking, oh, this sounds cool, like cool gameplay. And the story being told is very good. And actually, of all the people, Scott, I think you would really enjoy the story of it. The characters, especially the main character in his relationship with another character. And again, I'm trying to be vague here. But you're basically an assassin. And you are going into these areas to assassinate people. And when you die, it's a quick launch. You start at the beginning again, but like it's all about developing the run. Like, okay, I did this, that, and as long as I time it that way, I won't die. Like it forces you to experiment, and then once you find something that works, now you do that every time and you move forward. And then the other cool feature is that at the end of each level, in quotation marks there, there's like a video feature, like it's like surveillance watching, and you get to see you can watch your runs. Now obviously you could skip it or fast forward it or whatever, but you get to see your runs to see where you died, how you failed, what, all of that stuff, and it replays it for you, almost like yeah, it's just like it's surveillance, okay, watching you do this. And all of this plays into the story, actually. And by the end of it, you're like, whoa, I did not expect this game to get this deep. Like, I thought this was just a fun little, indie game. It's very unique. The music's good. The visuals are very good. But the gameplay and the gameplay mechanics are... I don't think I've ever played another game that was like it. Like, I'm trying to think of another game that was like it, and there's just not. I mean, I guess Dark Souls, kind of, where, like, you die and you lose your loot, and you have to just start back at your last save, wherever you saved last, and then try again. You got to go get your loot. But it is very cool, very unique. You can find it on sale. It's on every platform you can think of. But it's called Katana Zero, and yes, it is a one-hit kill game, which for me, a lot of I hate one-hit bosses. Like the two instant turn-offs for me are one-hit bosses or one-hit moves, and when you have to fight a boss that is multiple enemies attack you. Like that instantly, like I'm like, I'm out. I hate this. I want nothing to do with this. And I love this game. So that's a testament to the game design. So I know that's an initial shock, but it is very cool. And Scott, I think you would like the story itself, at very least.
See, go on.
I was gonna say, I was watching gameplay of it as Mike was describing it, because I have never heard of this game. It looks rad.
But then that's the other thing too that keeps you going, is that like when you do that run and you know that you didn't get hit once, you feel like a badass at the end of that. Like you're like, I feel like John Wick with the sword.
I was about to say, it gives very John Wick vibes as far as what it's presenting, is just this tactical approach to the situation. This one is going to be on my list here. I have a list of like games of things that I might be interested in. This is going to be on that list for sure. Because I just bought, based on our last discussion, was I did buy Messenger, which I've been enjoying a lot.
I was going to say, how's that game going, huh?
It's great. I will say, and I mentioned this in our Discord, playing Messenger and then going to Celeste was fine.
But not
playing
Tales of Iron.
Celeste, but playing Celeste,
backwards.
I'm talking about gameplay. But when playing Celeste and then going to the Messenger, I struggled hard with it. So I need to come back to it, just because I've been... don't play Celeste and Messenger at the same time, is the moral of the story I'm making here. But I was watching the gameplay. So this is a retro-inspired, like, graphical game. Like, think kind of Ninja Gaiden, but more modern. Original Ninja Gaiden, but it just looks cool, bloody, violent. I just saw some adult language. I'm sure this is a mature rated game as well, which would probably sell it to Scott a little bit, meaning that it's not just like a fun story. It's like, no, this is probably a pretty dark, visceral...
No, the main character, it's like it's very dark. and I'm telling, like, I really legitimately think, Scott, like, at the very least you'd enjoy the story. I think at the end of it you'd be like, the gameplay was unique and I got through it, but the story was, it's very, and especially the end and the end boss, and I'm trying to be very vague. The end boss is, and I think he might be optional. Like, there's an optional end boss, and I was like, I gotta do it, man. And I did it, and the whole time I'm like, what is going on here? It's really cool.
When did you first play it?
Oh, this was years ago, man. I think I played it when it first came out. So when did it release? I gotta look that up. But I think I played it because I saw it on a Nintendo Direct. Or actually, I guess it might have been an Indie Direct. You know, like how Nintendo likes to split those out now.
Yeah, and 2019.
And I saw it, and I was like, damn, that looks kind of cool. It, like, that looks really good. And then I looked into it, and, like, something to know about me. So, like, Devolver Digital, I tend to lean towards, I'm probably going to like their game. Like, that's I don't like every single one, but that's what, like, I start with that. Like, kind of like with Supergiant Games now, where I'm like, I'm going to like the game. You have to lose my interest, right? And so by this point, it was like, I think this might have been the game that started me into Devolver Digital stuff, where I was like, I should really check more of their stuff out. And Ape Out is a Devolver Digital game too.
Enter the Gungeon and Exit the Gungeon as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott. We'll let you chime in.
There you go. I have to say, it was a little bit of a journey listening to you like describe this game, because sorry, Mike, I don't want to offend you, but there's not a lot of recommendations you've done so far where I was like, this, I'm not even going to entertain playing this. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like, no, it's not happening. This
Even
one,
though
though,
I know you'd like it. I know you
this
would.
one, though, this one at first is like, all right, you got my interest. Wait, one hit kills, I'm out. Wait, time traveling? Well, that's kind of like Braid. That was sort of cool. Oh, I have to watch videos of all the times I've died. I don't need to see my stupidity again. Pass. Oh, it's optional? So I'm going to say, like, you got my interest before you had my interest. Now you have my attention. So, yeah, definitely something I might
look it up. Like, the visual, like, it is pixel, but it's very, very well done. And it comes down to the style. It's like very, I don't want to say, it's not cyberpunk, but it's got a very unique look to it, like the color usage, the designs, all that stuff.
Cyberpunk is a good equivalent, a retro inspired of like the setting and environment. Not that I played Cyberpunk, but as soon as you said that, my brain's like, yes.
Like it's kind of like that, but it's really good. It's a really good game, very unique, very memorable. I every now and then I go back to it and I'm like, I just kind of want to run through it. And here's another seller. It's not crazy long. It's long enough. In my playthroughs that I've done with it, not once have I thought this has overstayed its welcome, nor did I think I could have done a little bit more. It was like, it ended and I went, that was great. Time to move on. I had a great time with it. Wonderful game. So, good one. Katana Zero. Check it out. So, Scott, going from Capitalism the game, what's your next game?
If Casey can't see a theme from me, this next one also has, well, I guess that's a little
Please
bit
don't
of a
tell me it's
spoiler.
Healthcare the game.
It is.
Because that sounds worse.
No. This next game does have a little bit of capitalism criticism component to it. But this next one I'm going to talk about, and this is going to be the most interesting pitch I've ever done, because I'm going to try to get you to play this game and at the same time tell you as little about the game as possible, because going into it not knowing anything is the best way to go about it. And that is Inscription. So Inscription came out, I want to say 2021, started off as PC, and it is literally the definition of like small indie game. I'm pretty sure it was just one guy who made it.
And I think that's actually a Devolver Digital publication.
Oh, is it? There you go.
It is.
All right. Well,
see,
I'm already in. I've unwittingly already like tied it into Mike's game. Anyway, see, we're on the same page, same wavelength on that. So the thing about this game came out on PC 2021, and it slowly, surely has expanded to more platforms. So I want to say last year came out to PlayStation, which is the platform I played it on. And then I think recently it came out on Switch, which, to be 100% honest, I feel like Switch is the ideal platform for this game to be on. So to give you a little bit of a background with the game, to try to not like give away anything. On the surface, if you look it up online, you look up pictures of the gameplay, it's going to look like a deck building game. I almost that got M-rated.
You didn't almost.
You did.
You did.
You straight up said it.
I mean, that kind of sells me a little bit.
We always have honest. We always have to have that little plug in there every episode for our bears. We love you guys.
I swear it's not mine, baby.
It looks like on the surface a deck building game. And the best I could say is it is a creepypasta that is told through deck building game mechanics. And so for any of you who don't know what creepypasta is, those are those really lame online message board creepy ghost stories. You know, they're kind of like a mixture of like old school message board form / urban legend mixture. So some of the famous ones you may have heard of is like the Majora's Mask Kid, Candlelight Cove. So basically and I was really into these when I was younger. I would go and spend late nights reading these online. And it's like, these are like really poorly written, but still creeping me out. And that basically is the best way to describe Inscryption. It is unsettling. It is definitely a game I recommend playing at night, as late at night as possible. Not because there's anything that just jumps out and screams at you and scares the shit out of you. I don't even know if I would necessarily call it a horror game. It's just a very unsettling game that sticks with you. And this game, even if I wanted to spoil the game to you and tell you what it is, it's this type of game, I probably couldn't. This game reinvents itself multiple times. Just when you think you have an idea of what this game is, it just completely goes and turns itself on its head and just kind of puts you for a little bit like, okay, I guess I'm relearning how to play this game now. It is an experience, and it is an amazing experience. I call it my game of 2022, even though it came out in 2021, but a game's not important until I play it. So officially we'll say it came out 2022 because that's when I got to it. But it was a great experience. Like a lot of the games we're talking about, it is very short. It is a very, very short game. One thing they did that was pretty great is even though the game isn't about the deck building component, you know, in a way, it's a very well put together deck building game. And the really fun thing about it is it's not balanced at all. You can break the game very easily. They do not shy away from the fact that you can make game breaking decks in there and just completely like game the system. They encourage it because, again, it's more of just a vehicle to progress the story. But with that said, even though you can easily go and have a very cheap build, it's still very fun. It's very cool mechanics, very fun mechanics for the deck building game portion of it. And they actually added a mode in there where you can just go and do the deck building portion. When you play the campaign or the main story, like I said, the deck building portion is to kind of advance the story. You're basically very broad, basic plot summary as you are basically stuck in this cabin in the woods. You've been abducted. You're in there. It's very creepy. You can't get out. And there's one other person in there, your captor. And I'm trying to remember officially what their name is, but they're basically just this very creepy, very mysterious person who will not let you out. And the only thing you can do is basically play the game of Inscryption against him. So basically the entire game is you playing one-on-one this deck building game against this guy that has you held captive. And between the rounds you play with him, you may beat him and then, you know, get up from the table, look around the cabin a little more. As the game progresses, it kind of becomes a little bit of a puzzle room game where you get clues through the conversations you have with your captor. You go and have additional cards unlocked. You basically discover more about like where you're trapped at and ways you could possibly get out. And again, I have to be very vague and can't go into more than that. But if that's not your cup of tea, definitely, and you're more of just like, I want to play a really fun deck building game, it has that mode where it's just different challenges you can select, different starter decks you can get. It is a roguelike. It is, you don't get to keep the same deck. You know, every time you go through, you have a new deck that you're building up and trying to go. And there is some random number generator mercy that you're relying upon. Sometimes it may just spawn horrible cards for you to go and get to add to your deck. It's a very, very great experience and something I highly recommend. And I do feel like while Darkest Dungeon, I could see there's definitely gamers out there that Darkest Dungeon is not for them. I do think that anybody who at least has a little bit of tolerance for creepy and scary should give Inscryption a shot. It is a great game. And that's going to be Scott's hot pick of the day.
So it like you can play just the deck building game. Like I heard that
Yes.
right? So can you break it like you can in the story, or is it more like the story, like you can break it because they would just want you to go through the story itself? Like, can you do the same stuff in the deck building game itself?
So if you're just playing the deck building portion, it's a different mode of it. There's like,
So it's
campaign
so it's
mode.
not the same. So it's like a different feel, different setup to the
Yeah.
campaign. Okay.
So they do have a couple of balance changes that they do if you're just wanting to just play the deck building portion of it by itself. There's a couple of like super OP cards that aren't available in that are available in the story. But there is still a lot of OP combos and OP ways to build your deck that's still available. And to counteract that, they have different modifiers and different types of starter decks to use and different challenges. So they're completely overpowered and unfair and punishing and just completely destroy you. So the question is like, who can come up with the more OP deck? Your opponent or you? Yeah, you may have found this really cheap combo when you were in the single player campaign. Well, guess what? As overpowered and cheap as that is, the CPU has an even more OP overpowered deck to go against. So it does like that game made me suffer. I'm like Matt, I have to platinum everything, and I was determined to platinum that game. And the platinum that game, you have to go and defeat the computer with all like one of the trophies. You have to have every single like challenge activated, and you can pick any starter deck you want to go against the computer, but every single challenge activated is like basically impossible. I probably spent more time trying to clear that challenge than actually playing the campaign itself, and it was punishing. It tore me up inside. It was horrible, and I wouldn't change a thing about it.
All right. I mean, sounds cool, and I'm already sold. It's a Devolver game, and I like the Shyamalan type games. So,
and for me, I do enjoy a good deck builder game. In fact, I'll be talking about one in just a moment. But what turns me off from a game like this is the creepypasta, because I always hated those. But I have known of several people that have played it and enjoyed it. And I do like the smorgasbord of stuff going on. Like there's the creepypasta story, there's at its core a deck building game, there's the puzzle room element as well. And for those that like those kind of like sort of dark stories, I'm sure there's a lot of like, hey, here's that carrot on the stick kind of in front of you to make you want to do more and more and more. And then the extra challenges with the core of its game itself. Um, I like most of those things. Pretty much the creepypasta makes me like, nah.
To be honest, the creepypasta is, like I said, there was not a single moment in the game where I was like, oh, like.
I feel like the two of you are kind of on the same page with horror, scary stuff in games. So if Scott can handle it, I feel like you can handle it.
It's not that I don't think I can handle it. It's just that I have no interest in that particular type of storytelling.
I'm going to give something away about me, and you can all make fun of me. Resident Evil 4, one of my favorite games of all time. So you may say to yourself, it's like, well, obviously, Scott, you must have played Resident Evil 4 Remake. No, I haven't. And you know why? Because Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time because I was able to go and get past getting scared in that game. First playthrough of that game, horrible. Hated it. I do not like things popping out and scaring the shit out of me. But then after you play it the first time, it's like, all right, wolves jump out. Here, in there. I can memorize it. And once I go have no scare factor anymore, that's when I learned to really appreciate that game. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I don't know where things pop out anymore. I don't know where the jump scares are now. I'm out. I don't want to go deal with that. I don't want to go and have jump scare nonsense happen. And so with that said, yes, it sounds like there's other reasons Matt doesn't want to play it, but it's just as far as like, I feel like both of our tolerance of creepy levels are kind of the same.
It is, and I'll have more to say on the genre of deck building when it's my turn here. But Mike, any other thoughts you have for Inscription? I know the Devolver bit would definitely have you interested. Well, let me ask you this, Mike. Have you played any deck builder game, like an actual like video game deck builder before?
I've actually played, well, I guess I've played a lot of them, but ones that come up in recent memory are Witcher 3 had a deck building game built into it that was called Gwent, and it got so popular. And I mean, I remember playing Witcher 3 the first time, and I spent hours with that game, and I thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing, like, I have Geralt. Geralt's got stuff to do, and I would put hours into it. And then they released, like, here is Gwent, a full-on game, and they even made it like an actual like deck building game, like you can play on your tabletop, and I love it. And I've played some, not a whole lot. I do like things like the cleanup. You don't have to do the cleanup and stuff, but I'm kind of weird about deck building games where I'm like, I like the physical. Like I don't know. I like, especially if there's good artwork and stuff like that. Like like Legendary, Marvel's Legendary. I'm like,
yeah,
I like the visual and the feel of it. You know what I mean?
And I'm glad you mentioned Legendary because it's kind of ironic we got on this topic of deck building video games when deck building games, actual physical, is a big thing with me. At least it used to be. And of all the people who got me into deck building games, is that gentleman, at least on the upper right hand corner of my screen, Matthew Worsham. And that would be the DC deck building game.
Yep. That's what started it for me too.
You're welcome.
Super fun game. And it was one of those, it was kind of like Guitar Hero where it's like, this looks dumb. And Matt likes it. So therefore I can't like it. And then I started playing. I'm like, damn it, Matt, I like this. The one that really got me, though, the one that's like, how dare you? I would have $2,000 more than I would have currently if it wasn't for you, is Mike Bowerman introducing me to Marvel Legendary. As much as I enjoyed DC deck building game, Marvel Legendary is a whole different league.
It like takes that, but then like gives it like steroids 10 times over.
The funny, and like I said, I probably spent $2,000 on it just buying the different expansions.
I mean,
and there you go back there.
And both of those boxes are full, absolutely full of cards.
And the great thing is, this isn't about talking about the Marvel deck building game, but any Marvel character you can think of, you can play as. And I'm talking everyone. You can be as obscure as possible. Like, Matt, tell me a very obscure Marvel character to play as.
Crystal.
You can play as Crystal. You can play as Squirrel Girl.
You can even play as Thanos as a hero.
Like, this is like
it matches, like, he literally kills civilians. Like,
yes,
that's his power. Like, that's his theme with all of his cards. Like, KO this, and however many are in the KO pile of civilians, you get plus attack power. So it's like, it wants you to kill him as Thanos, as the good guy. The good guy.
And the very sad thing is, the only people I played this game with was Mike one time when he introduced it to me, and then my sisters. And my sisters have since gone on to be married and have kids and basically never hang out with their poor brother anymore. And I still buy expansions for the game. Who the hell am I playing this game with? I don't care. I just want to collect them.
You can play single player. Unlike DC is a little bit hard to do. You can play this game by yourself.
It is pretty pathetic experience, though, playing this game by yourself. I wasn't going to
say that, but you're right.
I appreciate the fact that they give like no friend people like me and a way to still get some worth out of these cards, but there's nothing like having a table set up in front of you, 100 cards out, and you're just next turn. Okay, yeah, that's me. All right, your turn now. That's me again.
That's me.
Anyway, I feel like this would be a very great lead-in to now.
Yeah, speaking of deck building.
All right, so a little background on me. I hate board games. I hate card games with a passion. I have hated almost every single game that I've ever played physically online. That changed based on a game that we just talked about, the DC deck building game as created by Cryptozoic. If you see my cat in the background, it's because my wife is at my door with a laser pointer. So that's what's happening right now.
She's trolling. I was like, why is your cat back there tweaking? I see it on your face.
Yep.
Got into the catnip.
Yeah. My wife got into the catnip, and now she's playing with the laser pointer. That's what's happening. Anywho,
it's legal in Indiana now.
Is it? It's not. Oh, catnipping. Okay. Yes.
What do you think I was talking about?
Nothing. No, sir. Nothing at all. Anywho, the DC deck building game by Cryptozoic made me go like, oh, these can actually be fun. Because it's all in one box. It's all together. There's not like, hey, I got, a Charizard, but you don't have a Charizard. I win. It's not like a Pokemon trading card game type of game. It's all in here, and you build your deck. That was key for me. It is a deck building game. Anywho, that's a game I loved. I got everyone else addicted to it. You're welcome. You too. The reason I bring that up is because the game I want to talk about is a deck building game that is my most played game of 2022 on my PlayStation. So like Switch has like their year in review. PlayStation has their year in review. I'm sure Xbox does as well. I was shocked that my most played game for 2022 was not Overwatch. It was Slay the Spire.
Ooh, Matt, you're gonna have to get a Slay the Spire hat now.
I know
You're a
you're saying
poser.
that while you're wearing the
Oh,
Overwatch
oh
hat,
wait,
and it's
You
like,
are a
I'll turn the
poser.
hat backwards, even though it says Overwatch on both sides.
yeah, it
Anywho,
don't matter.
sorry,
You can't.
Overwatch. My
It's
bad.
judging you right now. That hat is judging you.
That's, you know what? It can judge me all I want. I've done terrible things. So, Slay the Spire is a game that I also got for free because at one point it was free on PS Plus. I think towards the middle of 2022. I couldn't tell you when exactly. And it became my most played game on the PlayStation. It is a roguelike deck building game that has 4 different characters. And each character has different cards and different starting abilities. As you play, you start with just a small deck. And as you go through encounters, random encounters, fights, whatever it is, you can typically choose from. My wife's got a laser point on my face again. You can choose one of 3 cards to add to your deck, and all these cards do different things. And there isn't that much of a story into it. It is very much a roguelike, like pick your character, here's your deck, build your deck as you go, try to get through 3 levels essentially. It's also not creepy. So there's that going for you. It's not creepy. You can also gain things that are called artifacts that add certain things. Like there's this random artifact that, like, at the start of every encounter, gain 2 HP because you have HP, and it's a turn-based combat with cards. So you have your deck of cards with your character and that do all sorts of different things. And then there's a ton of different enemies that are randomly put in. I mean, each area has its own set enemies, so you can expect only a certain type of enemy within that area, but they do that on purpose. As you get to higher and higher levels, they give you more difficult folks to fight with different abilities and things to be aware of. So you build your deck and you try to get through 3 areas, and you're like, cool, I finally did it. What happens now? We'll do it with this other character. Cool. Do it with this other character. Cool. Do it with this other character. Okay. Now that you've done that, guess what? It goes into what Scott was just saying, that every challenge activated mode, they have this in this game as well. So once you beat it the first time, it's like, okay, now do it again, but here's this modifier. Oh, you beat it now? Here's another modifier on top of that modifier. And it goes all the way to Ascension level 20, which I've made it to with one character, and I can't freaking beat it. It's so hard to do this. It is so hard, but I've gotten close a couple of times.
All right, Matt, you basically described non-spoopy inscription.
Exactly.
Like literally to the T.
He's just playing pasta inscription.
Yeah, it's basically minus the creepy pasta. So Scott, you would absolutely love this game. Mike, I think you would as well. But I think this was a particular Scott game. When I was like, I want to talk about this. I love the game. I think this is the one that Scott's gonna potentially enjoy more than Mike on this one. But there is so much to do in this game. You can play it for 5 minutes. You can play it for 5 hours. Oftentimes when I finish work, like my wife's watching or playing something on her TV and my TV's right next to hers, and I don't always like to play with headphones, so I just put on that game and I just play it, and it's great. But at its core, it's a rogue-like deck building game, and every single run, you start with your same deck and you build up and try to beat it. And there's so many challenges, and there's even the super like ultra hard mode is once you've beaten it with, like, I think everybody, there's like a super ultimate like ending, if you will. But the criteria to get that is so freaking hard. And I've gotten close a couple of times. It's just that thing, like it's right there. I could grab it, but you just can't get it. But at its core, it is just a blast of a game. I won't say it's that pretty. I think everything is hand drawn, but it's kind of like generic, really. There's nothing like it's unique in that it's its own designs and things like that, but I won't say it's a good art style. And I would also say the music, it's really, really boring and tiring after a while. So I don't even have the music on. I put on fast mode. I turned off the music. I'm usually blasting Spotify over it anyways, but the game at its core is just wonderful. And this was my most played game of 2022. I think Scott would love it. And if anyone doesn't like, rogue like deck building games, well, shut up, try this one because it is wonderful and I love it.
I have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
I think, is it on Switch?
It should be.
Okay, because I was going to say, that sounds like a great game while you're like watching something like baseball, basketball, watching a show, and you play this game, right? Like you're in handheld mode.
It is the ultimate multitasking game.
Yeah. So that sounds, and then you could turn down the volume. You're not missing anything.
Yep.
And then number 2, how close are you to platining platinuming that game.
Not even.
Matt.
Not even. I'm
Matt.
sorry. Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
The achievements
Do
for
it.
this game are insane. There are some that I'm like, I can't even get close to this.
Do it.
No.
You'll do it.
Do it.
See,
Do it.
See, this isn't even a me being defiant thing where I'm just like, I don't want to. It's I don't think I can. It's that type of trophy.
All right. Matt, is there somebody out there who's platinum this game?
Probably.
Are they better than you?
Probably.
Are they smarter? Are you saying that you're any dumber than another person out there?
Yes.
No, you're not, Matt. You're just as good as anybody else out there. You know what is the difference? Is gotta believe.
You gotta believe.
Just pretend that I have a believe banner right here above my computer, and I'm pointing to that right now. But you need to believe in yourself,
you got a
Matt.
Ted Lasso stash already.
I do have the Ted Lasso stash. I hate so much that you guys care so much about platinum and 100%ing games to that level. I hate
Matt. Matt, it's not about the trophy that you unlock in the game. It's about the trophy you unlock in here. It's about getting you to believe that you can do it, Matt.
But I don't want to do it.
That's because you don't think you're a winner. You think you're a loser, and you have plenty of evidence in your life to support conclusion. But this is us telling you you can be better, Matt.
You can push yourself way under the bus. He just threw shade at you.
You can be. It's never too late to be a winner. I'm a winner. I literally spent my morning on a weekend getting a platinum trophy on Dredge. There's people out there that are doing important things in their life. Or you can get that platinum trophy in Dredge. Who is the real loser in this situation? Not I. So, Matt,
I like that you didn't pause to let me answer because you gave the answer immediately before I could.
I don't need your help for that.
That's smart. That's right. I'm proud of you. Hey, anywho, Slay the Spire is a wonderful game. I think everyone should play it. It is a delight, and I'm not going to platinum it.
You know what I did platinum? Inscription. And one thing I found really funny is when I chimed in and said, like, you basically described non-creepy Inscription, everything you said after that point is like, all right, that doesn't describe Inscription anymore. So sorry to hijack your topic and go back to Inscription, but great art direction, great music. But yeah, you also have the ability to have that good couch, sit down, like zone out mode if you're just doing the single player, or not the single player, but like the non-campaign version of it. But I will be honest, of all the games you guys have pimped out to me and tried to make a pitch on, the one that's most likely for me to play is Slay the Spire. That one, that sounds like my jam.
For me, it'd be Katana Zero, but that's because
that one's honorable mention. Maybe that one. Right. Maybe.
So I'm going to go the complete opposite way here now. So you say honorable mention. I know that this is going to be cool. Like Scott's going to immediately say no. But if you look at the description of it, well, actually you probably wouldn't, but it is very unique. So this one, a lot of dialogue. I don't even know how you'd classify this game. I guess a story game. I guess there is technically gameplay. Like you choose answers and things like that. And this game is called Doki Doki Literature Club.
Get that weeb bullshit out of here.
Now, yes. So let me preface this by saying I knew nothing about this game. I love anime. This was too much for me. Like when just the anime, like when I saw the pictures, because I played this on Steam first and actually have Doki Doki. I bought Doki Doki Literature Club Plus for the Switch because I wanted to support the developers because this game blew me away. I knew nothing about it. People were like, "Hey, it's on Steam right now for free. Download it." And I was like, "Okay, well, I like free." And they said, "Hey, you should stream it. Play this game and stream it." And I was like, "Really?" And it was like, "We will show up and watch you play it." I was like, "Really?" And I'm looking at screenshots, and I'm like, "What? You guys would really watch?" I mean, I like anime, but this is too much for me. And one of my in my stream, one of my emotes that was making fun of, like in anime, like whenever you're reading stuff, you see this thing where it's EH when they're like chuckling. And I actually made an emote with a stupid laugh that I did based off of this game. Like it came from this game. And it was too weeb for me. So Scott, yes, this was too much for me. Like I was like, I have no interest in this.
Then I am absolutely out. If it's too much for you, then I would just explode. I would explode from weeb overload.
very much like how you've described Inscription. If you look, like, I don't know if it's like this on the PlayStation Store, Switch Store, whatever. If you look at the Steam page, and you know how there are tags like, oh, this is suspense, this is action, platformer, whatever, right? One of the descriptions is psychological horror. So you see this bright, colorful image of this super anime girl that you're looking at going, this is kind of hurting my eyes looking at. And in the description right below it says, psychological horror, just sitting there. And it says 18 plus, because the initial 18 plus I saw, I thought, great, are they getting me into a waifu simulator? Is that why they want me to stream this? Like, they want to see me get embarrassed, like I got embarrassed with the freaking teacher in Persona 5 and that whole thing when you find out she's a maid.
Mike, help me out. I want to look up pictures of this as you're talking about the game, and I have no idea how to spell it.
Doki is D-O-K-I, so do that twice. So Doki space Doki.
I'm going to pretend that Scott first typed Dookie.
I actually did type Dookie.
There it is.
So,
yeah.
Yep. So Doki Doki. And you should see Literature Club come after it. And I'm telling you, and they do a good job of masking what this game really is.
Okay? Oh, that is way too. That is.
I felt the same way.
I can't do it. No,
I felt the same way.
Too much.
But it said 18, and the beginning of the game does start that way. And I wish I still had the streams, the VODs from the streams. But you could probably tell I was like, dude, this is too much for me. One of my pet peeves as an anime is when the girls talk like this. It drives me up the wall.
Sorry,
just talk normal.
Mike, I didn't catch that. Can you repeat that for me? Oh, thank you.
It drives me up the wall. And they kind of are talking like that. They're like, oh, are you going to school today? Can I walk with you? And I'm like, no, you can't walk with me. I don't want to walk with you. Like, I'm playing this game. And you just choose your answers. Like, the dialogue's there and you choose your answers, okay? And then there's something happened, and I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to ruin the experience for you. Something happens, and I'm like, I'm playing the game, and my eyes are kind of glazed, and then it goes, what was that? And everybody in chat I remember I was streaming, everybody in chat got quiet. Nobody said a word. And I know I'm sitting here looking at like how many people are there, and there's a lot of people there watching, and I'm like, why is nobody saying anything? And then all of a sudden people start posting emotes, and it's an emote that is tied to a character in the game, and I'm like, what's this? And so all of a sudden this game just spirals into something else. And that's all I'm going to say. And I'm very interested to see how they do it on console, because I see what they did on PC, and it's super cool. But it changes, and I can't recommend this game enough. So I went from, I don't want to play this game, but I'm going to do it because people want me to stream it, to I recommend this game to everybody, even people who hate weeb stuff, because it's an experience. Like, it really legitimately is. And I can't say anything about it without, even if I told you, kind of like you were saying, Scott, even if I told you, it's like, hey, by the way, in Lord of the Rings, this happens. You're like, oh, okay. But then you watch it and you're like, okay, well, that was epic. Like, that was just a big, giant event that happened. It's not this, even though you don't really know. This is the same way with this game. And I don't know if it's still free on Steam, but free is a great. I played it for free. I downloaded it. I still have it in my Steam library. Played it for absolutely free. Blew me away. I cannot recommend this game enough. And I know, like, yeah, I'll leave it at that. So I doubt, Scott, you'll ever try it, which makes me very sad, because I think, especially past conversations that we've had, I think that you would be like, holy hell, this hits like way to this. I don't like this, but I also do like this.
My question, so I'm going to butcher his name. I think it's Junji Ito. Do you know who I'm talking?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the
Is
crazy
it anything
body humor.
Yeah, anything like that at all? Because that is one route to getting me to partake in weeb culture.
I want to say kind of. It's
kind of okay.
Think very general thing, like that kind of thing. Like it starts one way, and then it evolves into something that's like, holy what? Like, and not in like a whoa, you blew my mind. Like in a, I don't know if I like this, but I think I do. But at the end of it, you're like, okay, that was a trip. Like,
I do very much like my subverting expectation gaming experiences. Now I'm like
psychological horror is the description of this game, which completely juxtaposes anything you see on the Steam, anything you see on the storefront. Like you see it, you go, that's a typo, or they're using that loosely. They're trying to get people to just find the game, right? Like with this tag. No, that is 100% accurate. Without spoiling anything.
So I have questions. One, how long was this game? From start to finish for you?
I think it's hours. I could tell you right now exactly how long. The Literature Club Plus, I know they added stuff, so I couldn't tell you that, and that's why I got it. Another reason why I got it too. But the original, 4 hours.
Okay.
Only 4 hours. Sold.
4 hours, and it's free on Steam, which you can now play on your new fancy computer there.
I think I'm sold.
Listen, I'm telling you, you are going to hate the beginning, and then there's going to be a point where you're going to go, oh, what now?
Scott, I'm going to, if you play this and you finish it, I need you to tell me if I should do it as well. I need Scott to dive into this.
Matt's intrigued.
Here's why I've been intrigued is Mike's not the only one to tell me about this game and what a big deal it was to him. And there's an individual that Mike and I both know that raves about this game in a way that to quote, he said literally saved my life. Which is just like, dang. So that's always kind of sat with me as well. So Scott, if you dive into it and you beat it, you let me know. And I might pick a day and just stream it. Can I beat this in one stream?
Absolutely. If you if you do a long stream, and
yeah.
I'll tell you this. Well, okay. I can't tell you because it'll spoil. Remind me if you play it. Remind me to tell you my streaming story because it scared the hell out of me. Like I don't know. Yeah. Remind me to tell you my stream story. Okay.
All right. Like so, I have 2 weeks until Tears of the Kingdom come out. I think I may
beat this
sold.
you can beat this in a single sitting.
Subverting expectations, psychological horror, 4 hours. You just said the dream team right there for Scott.
I'm a little blown away that Doki Doki might have been
free, the biggest one.
Free, yes. I heard 3. I'm like, oh, there's another point. No, he said free with an F.
No, like FREE.
I'm amused that this, I think, has gone out of all the games we talked about. Scott was like, yeah, Slay the Spire. I'm like, all right, cool. That's what I thought. And then you saying Doki Doki, and now Scott getting on board. I'm kind of like, hang on.
And what? That's why this made my list. Is because it is I can't explain it, and you just experience it, and by the end of it, I remember finishing it and sitting in my chair just like this. And I just sat there and thought about it. Like, what that just happened? So, anyway.
Right.
Well, that's it. That's a wrap. Scott, I have to ask, do you have a rant for us today?
Do I have a rant?
Okay,
I have a rant for you.
Okay, let's do it. You got a couple minutes before we have to call this quits. So guess what? It's Scotty Porta Potty time. Go. Look over there. He just doesn't care. He's going off on a crowd of people, throwing words in the air like he just don't care. He's yelling at all of us sheeple. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's a Scotty Porta Potty rant. It's rant time.
Scotty Porta Potty rant. You know what really grinds my gears? George R.R. Martin. You, sir, Bullshit. Not talking necessarily about Game of Thrones. I'm talking about you. Rarely does Scott get personal, but oh, this one is very personal. You sit on your lazy, fat, old ass and let HBO finish something you've been working on for 15 years. And people ask you, like, hey, George R. Martin, are you going to finally work on that book that you say you're going to be finishing for like the last 5 years? No? What, you're going to work on Elden Ring now? Oh, you're going to work on Elden Ring sequel? Oh, you're going to work on this, and that. Just finish your fucking book, all right? Just literally just put in, and they all died, the end, and flew off on rainbows. Just finish the freaking thing, all right? Nobody wants you to go and make a million prequels. We get it. You have writer's block. There's ways to help with that, buddy. Take a walk, go on vacation, get some inspiration. Just finish your fucking book. I'm so sick of this. It's not even the last book you're working on. You have another one after that. Like, we're going to have to preserve your freaking brain, transfer it to AI, like, and wait for like the 200 years it'll take for you to actually finish your story. Be respectful of your freaking fans that have been following you for all these years. Finish your freaking story. Just lock yourself in the room and don't get out until you go and have that written. You drive me crazy. That is what grinds my gears tonight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless the United States of America.
I mean, I agree. So that one hits home for me.
I haven't seen a single Game of Thrones thing. I have not read his book. I have no desire to do whatsoever, but I am 100% in the Scott camp on this one.
There you go.
And I do have to throw in there too. Like, that guy has an alarmingly large amount of incense material. I think they need to talk to his sister and make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm just saying. Are you okay, George? Are you all right?
You know, my takeaway
are
is,
you okay?
One of Scott's earliest rants was, we shouldn't be fat shaming men. And then he immediately went after
Yes.
Mr. Martin
His
here,
fat
but
ass.
that's fine. That's fine.
Well, with that,
He's
thanks
the
for
worst, not
watching.
because he's fat. He's the worst because he's the worst. Anyway.
He's the worst. All right. Well, thanks, listeners and viewers. Appreciate you as always. Celiac Matt, Celiac_Matt on Twitch. Bauertendo on Twitch. SMS Steven Streams, soon to be on Twitch. Got the rig and everything. Go for it. Appreciate you as always. Until the next episode. Bye.